So, hello everyone. Welcome to Be in This World but Not of It. My name is Marisol from The Magical Sound of Your Soul. I'm a singer and an intuitive sound and energy healer. And I had this idea for these talks on my YouTube channel to talk to wonderful people on their spiritual journey during this ascension process to like-minded starseeds. And so today I am here with the wonderful and amazing and radiant Atalina Wright. She's an author and my soul sister. And I'm so happy that she's here with me today. And so we're going to be talking about reigniting the flame of the divine energy, which is very important during this time of ascension, where everything is shifting tremendously. So welcome, Atalina. I welcome you from my heart. And if you'd like to say a few words about yourself, please go ahead.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I know we've been chatting a little bit, and I just think we both just embody that divine feminine energy, and I can feel it bubbling through us. So this is really exciting to be able to have this chat. I am, I suppose you call me a creator. So I am an author. I published a couple of books. I've got a new book coming out called Wild River Banks, and I'm also for a very long time been on the spiritual path. So I would class myself as a bit of a divine alchemist. So what I've studied meditation, I've studied metaphysics, been meditating now since my 20s. So I kind of combine all of those things, or that's what I've been going to combine everything, all the different aspects of creativity and things that inspire me, as well as my own personal spiritual path into one. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So I'm just really excited to be here and to be talking with you.
Yeah, same. We're going to be sharing our thoughts on this subject and see where it takes us, and transport the energy to the ones who are listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So, what would you like to say about the bringing back this divine feminine energy, this radiant energy to humanity and our Mother Earth in this time?
Yeah, well, it's such a multifaceted and multidimensional conversation. I think we're probably going to need to have probably many videos, I think, to cover the whole subject. But I think for me, it's just really divine feminine is a state of beingness. It's understanding that this energy is a part of our being, and it's almost been lost, really, for thousands of years, this wisdom. And it's very evident now that we're reclaiming that knowledge, that wisdom, that understanding of the self, and what this energy means and what it means to embody the divine feminine energy in both masculines and feminines, and to express that divine feminine energy, and to see the kind of transformations and shifts in society and humanity that will take place as we kind of step more into that power and knowing. But it depends. We can probably talk about, I suppose right from when we're very young as women, I suppose, as feminine energy embodiers. So I suppose typical feminine energy, because obviously feminine energy can be in masculines, as in masculines and feminine as well. But as feminines, I think even for us, it's been lost. The feminine. I remember growing up thinking, where is she? Where? I'm a female, and and especially as you become a mother, and I create, and I can create life, but I don't hear about her. Where is the feminine? Where is the feminine from the narrative? Where is she in the creational stories and stories of Genesis? And of course, this is what we're reclaiming now. This is what we're bringing. We're learning to understand that she's always been there. This feminine, and she's always been present. It's just not being recognized or celebrated as it should.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, especially in this world that is so based on achieving things on the outside, and you're not allowed to show your feelings in a lot of societies, and it's seen as a weakness. So we've been trained to live in a very masculine energy, and so I think it's exactly as you say, that it's about rediscovering our feminine energy, our femininity, and the goddess within, and to bring back that softer energy of allowing, of flowing, of receiving. That's so important right now.
Yeah, exactly. And and as well, I'm seeing as well in both males and females, a lot of that has to do with vulnerability as well, because obviously the feminine energy, I suppose I suppose it's probably important to say right from the outset that, you know, we, like I say, we do embody both the masculine and feminine energy, and it's that oneness, it's the merging of those two energies, the unity that actually is the key really to our happiness and well-being, because without one or the other, we're kind of there's an imbalance there. You know, so for men, bless them, who've been taught as well to kind of, you know, be very strong and, you know, never show emotions and things. You know, sensitive men are now, you know, expressing more of their feminine energy and coming forward, and we need that in our men to support the women who can, you know, be in touch with their feelings. And then, because as we grow and we emerge into the divine feminine energy as well, you know, we are, you know, it's a very creative, expressive, intuitive, emotional, you know, feeling energy. And so we need a bit of that masculine. So again, it's almost like this, for me, it's this interplay of energies. As the divine feminine energy rises, we're almost anchoring in the masculine energy as well, to keep that grounded as we, you know, and steady and safe as we as that emerges through us. But yeah, I find it expresses through me as a very creative, intuitive force. I don't know how it is for you, Marissa, but that's kind of how I feel it most, I think.
Yeah, and it's definitely very creative energy. So we can ask ourselves, how do I want to live? What do I truly want? And I think the people who are on this path, as we shift, there are so many more possibilities in this new energy. So if we allow ourselves to open up to our gifts and to our full potential, we have amazing opportunities to create our own lives and be a part of others' lives, you know, to have influence and shine that light and be that light.
Yeah, and it's almost like with a soft, like a beautiful, soft, graceful feel to it as well, isn't it? You know, it's that. I know, like I said, for me, it's I do experience it as it's a very powerful creative force for me, the divine feminine energy. And I've learned, even though I've always experienced it throughout my life, because I've written love poetry, and, you know, so I've always been in touch with I've been an artist for many years, so I've always had that side of me. But I didn't realize how powerful it was actually, because it's very nurturing, and literally you can create anything. And I think that's the thing, it's a creative force. As you know, part of source, we've got masculine, feminine, god, goddess, and she's one of the creative forces. She's the matter, the manifestation of matter and energy that comes forth, and you know, and like I say, it's embodied in the earth. So she is what brings forth the creation. She's the creation. So when you think about that, really, it's incredible. It just if you sit with that, what that actually means, that you can create literally, you know, pretty much, you know, anything that you have a natural talent for, or, you know, passion for, or desire for. But again, it's less, like you said, less of it's less brute force, more soft force. It's like the river that flows round and through, but still is strong. You know, that's kind of how that's how it feels. It flows through me. That very creative, very expressive, very artistic, and very intuitive. Like I feel it, like a more flow. So it would be it's a very intuitive thing. So, you know, you may sit down to do something, but you're kind of naturally guided that this feels more joyful, so I'll just explore that. That's how I feel. That's what works in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. What you say, I think flow versus force, that's so important. And this divine energy, I mean, it is very empowering, very powerful, but like you said, at the same time, soft and not so rigid, and allowing yourself that flow, because we've been living in a very harsh world where things are forced and it has to be this way, and I have to do this and I have to succeed. So this is, I like the word inspiration, like to be in spirit, you know, so there's a difference between inspired action and forcing something. So to come in alignment first, be inspired, and then act out of that inspiration, but not out of force because you think it has to go a certain way, and try to make that happen. So
this is something, you know, that I'm definitely, I don't want to cut your flow there, something I've definitely been feeling recently, because I think for me, I'm can be quite intellectual, and so it's bringing it down from the mind and actually bringing it into the heart space, and that's something that, you know, again, that's my balance. You know, I've had to learn to balance those two, the masculine and feminine, that way as well. But exactly what you were saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you from
Oh no, all good, all good.
But yeah, they just like I said, it is again. I completely agree. It's because sometimes we can think that we have to do something, and that almost stops the creative force for me. Because the minute you think you have to do anything,
Yeah.
it's almost there's a barrier there. With the divine feminine creative energy, it's more you kind of get prompts. I find you get some intuitive prompts. Oh, this I should really explore this, and then it's really the joy that you feel that in the heart center that kind of guides you as to, oh, yeah, this is right for me. This is something I should be exploring or doing more of. That makes sense.
Yeah, I have that too. I tend to pressure myself, and when I do that too much, I consciously come back to the joy of what I do and that flow, and ease up with myself a little bit. So it's exactly what you say, that journey from the head to the heart. And it's about dropping so many limitations that we've placed on ourselves. And yeah, I think that's exactly the time to do it. And it can be overwhelming because I feel like the old is crumbling, it's falling away, and the new is already here, but not as visible for everyone yet. So we're like in this in-between state, like we're shedding the old and starting to create the new. And a lot of people, of course, are feeling very how do you say challenged, or like the ground is shaking, disorientated. So I think that's a huge thing of coming back to trusting right now, trusting your own wisdom, your own light, your own knowing, and create from that point in a whole new paradigm.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, we're talking about ascension there, and that's the mother wisdom, the feminine energy, the reclamation of that, and the embodiment of that, and the balancing of that is a huge part of the ascension process. And like you say, it's breaking people open a little bit. We're suddenly going into these things we're having to heal, and it's almost like the feminine energy is creating space for us to be able to do that. We're moving away from a very patriarchal, dominant history of society to one that's more anchored in the mother, like what would be the mother, like I said, the feminine way, so softer, gentler, it's safe space for you to be able to be yourself, to express yourself, to be able to follow your heart, not necessarily like you say what you've been conditioned to think or conditioned to be. And so that is very uncomfortable for a lot of people. And for us that have been on this spiritual journey a very long time, we've had our dark nights of the soul. Everybody has to go through this. We might sit here smiling, but we've been through this, and with every level of the ascension, it kind of comes back around. There's things to clear. It's this, I talk about this on my website actually, to do it called clearing the container, or polishing the diamond, polishing the crystal. Like, you could look at the crystal as being our hearts, and the more divine feminine energy that we're able to understand and be in touch with and embody, it sort of pushes out to the surface anything that's not really, that's false, that's not meant to be there. Your fears, any traumas, the Greeks call this miasma, which is, it's called spiritual pollution. So anything that's egoic patterns, anything that's and it's part of that, and it's a kind of regenerating. I find it's in that way, the divine feminine energies, it's healing, it's helping us to return to our most sacred and pure and natural state of being, and at the same time it's opening us up as well. So as that clears, when we, like you say, we become more aligned with our natural talents and abilities, and our natural creative gifts, and then that takes another level of courage to be able to explore them. So it's quite it's a beautiful journey and a beautiful process. It definitely has its challenges as well.
Yes, it does.
It takes a bit of effort to be brave and to be yourself, and to and to also just to be, I think, I spoke about this recently, just being honest, being able to be honest with yourself, to feel safe enough within yourself that you can, get in touch with your emotions, and, any experiences you've had, to be able to really step into your truth, into your light. And the divine feminine is such a huge part of that.
Yeah, and absolutely. And to speak and live your truth, and to have the courage to do that, and to always check in with yourself and see, is this right for me or not? Does it feel right? And learn to set your boundaries respectfully. If
Yeah.
something does not feel right, set your boundaries. Or do I cross my boundaries to please others? So I think
Yeah.
that's very important. Like you
Yeah.
said, be honest with yourself and live the way you want to live and how you want to live, and dare to explore that if you don't know 100% yet what that means.
Yeah, and it's not always easy, because sometimes who you are is not necessarily who your family think you are.
Mm-hmm.
You might be off meditating, and like I do, connecting with the Mother Earth's heart and everything, meditations and doing all this work, and they might not have a clue,
Mm-hmm.
that any of this goes on. So I think it can be quite a scary, but it's like I say, it's kind of like cracking the egg open.
Yeah, definitely.
Inside is all this beautiful, is your divine nature, is your
Mm.
your divine blueprints, your gifts, your balance, masculine, feminine,
Yeah.
and all that beautiful feminine energy. But it does just take a little bit of confidence, like you're saying. Sometimes doing something in a particular way might mean that suddenly some friends don't resonate with
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
so it's, yeah, I think it's really important actually this time, like we found, Marisol, is to really kind of just be brave enough to kind of step out there a little bit,
Mm.
and to find people that you connect with and that understand the journey that you're on.
Yeah.
Because just having that support and that unconditional love, and someone who actually sees you
Mm.
like genuinely you, and all the
Yeah.
things about you, and loves them and actually finds them interesting, is such a
Mm.
wonderful thing. And then you can go back to family and friends who don't have a clue,
Yeah.
who are not on the ascension path, or not choosing that path right now, and you find that much easier to manage. I think
Yeah.
loneliness is a huge thing that any star seed, or anybody that's being on the spiritual path will identify with,
Mm.
and in humans just in general, when actually they're not in touch with these more beautiful ascended states of consciousness that
Mm.
access. Because we are brought up to believe, oh, it's just us, it's just you, and you have this one life, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Obviously we know, as you meditate a lot, and you begin to have these direct experiences, particularly of the divine, that we are, we're multi-dimensional beings.
Mm.
We have direct access to the, masculine and feminine divine energies within us. And when you know that, it just gives you such an enormous sense of peace, and it really eradicates a lot of fears about, death and things,
Mm.
and it being the only life. And then you can kind of really relax into your own body and begin to explore those energies when you know that they're very, very loving, and
Yeah.
part of who we are. Like the divine feminine is not something we attain, it's
Mm.
something that we already are, that we just have been, I suppose, closed off to a
Mm.
large extent, and we're just kind of opening that channel so we can experience more of that beautiful light and energy, creative energy.
Yeah, and the more we dare to radiate that into the world, and show it to the world, like you said, I mean, we will attract people, like-minded people, star seeds, people on this journey. I mean, like us, we met and it just clicked, and
We're having great fun.
yeah,
But it's so much more fun when you have someone to share it with, isn't it?
yeah,
We've got, I kind of recognize straight away that we have some kind of probably galactic history. We have that kind of history there
yeah,
together. And we've had visions of shared experiences, and it's really beautiful, because I think we help to, I just see you as this empowered, beautiful goddess of a woman with these amazing with this angelic voice, that I've listened to many times, and it just it's transcendent to me. So I'm kind of in awe of your talents and things, and I think it's lovely to kind of just even be in your energy as a friend, as a companion on the journey, as much as anything else. Again, it's almost like stepping into, again, another state of vulnerability, allowing yourself to be seen by another for who you are. And obviously you get a vibe for that as well. I mean, if you go into a shop, you'll know whether someone's, you can open your heart to them.
Yeah.
But like with you and I, like, that's what you're saying, you know, we've just had this, you know, we click straight away, and you could feel, you get to intuit that energy really, really well. I think particularly as you go through ascension, you get really good at discerning what energy and environments feel good and aligned with you, and what energies are not quite aligned with you. And the way that I know that is I tend to get really, really drained if I'm, you know, come away and I'm like, have to clear. And whereas with you and I, Marisol, it's just more of a case of we just pumped up.
Firing. Yeah.
Ready to go. Like, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
That's really lovely, isn't it? It's what happens naturally. So I kind of wish that for everybody, and I hope that people listening as well, my heart extends to any woman, any all masculine who's, embodying the feminine energies or otherwise going through the ascension and wants to reach out to us. We've said this before, haven't we, Marisol, that we'd love that to kind of become a community, and for people to be able to give, this what we've given to each other to others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we'll be posting our websites below the video. So if you're interested, you can check our websites and get in touch if you want. Yeah.
So do you want to say anything, Marisol, about like when you're younger, like the sort of the growth of the divine feminine within you, or the expansion?
When I was younger, yes. So now me coming towards my 40s next year.
Where it's at. It's a good age.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when I was a teenager, like 15, 16, I was struggling with really bad depressions. And there was nothing bad going on in my life. Like, I had wonderful parents, or that took really good care of me, and I was living an abundant life, and still I was really, really knocked over by these depressions, like not knowing how to get through the day and having these, how do you say, emotional pains that like just ate me up from the inside out. And I didn't know what it was. I was like, what is going on? My life is good and I feel horrible. And I went from one therapist to the next, and they couldn't do anything. I knew beforehand what they were going to say, and I was like, this is not helping. So my mom's always been very spiritual, and she passed that on to me and my sister. So thank you, Mom. And so I started working with people in the field of energy healing and soul journeying, and especially one woman in Berlin. She's amazing. For anyone who speaks German, she works in Berlin. She does amazing soul journeys. I'll post her website also for those who speak German. And so I started digging really deep and solving a lot of energetical traumas and things that I hadn't resolved, past lives or early childhood. That doesn't always need to be the biggest trauma, but it can be little things that create huge waves within our being. So through working with people like that, I realized that also depression is not an illness. It's symptoms of unhealed emotions, suppressed emotions. It can be grief, anger, frustration, whatever it may be for you. And once I went into those deeper levels of healing those emotions, of allowing myself to feel them, whether that be early childhood things, nothing bad, but little things, or past life things, I went through a continuous journeying of healing those aspects and parts of myself, and bringing back soul fragments that I had also lost. So, and by that, I understood, because I've always been someone that feels everything so intensely. Like, I feel the energy of people, and I was overwhelmed. And through this process, I learned to use it as a gift. But I had to learn that. And that's how I started meditating and working with energy, so that I could keep my space, still interact with people, but not get drained. And if I did have stuck energies on me, how to cleanse them again, and all these things. So that was my journey to working in the field of energy healing, and it's been very liberating. So yeah,
it's amazing when you can finally just be yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, I mean, that's such a lot to go through, and just realizing that actually the difficulties that you've that you've experienced, those challenges and the sensitivities are gifts in a way that help to propel you to greater states of awareness.
Yeah.
You know, and embodying more of, you know, clearing, like I say, clearing this beautiful like container for your light, you know, so that can be expressed forward and your gifts can shine through. But I think that's so important, just to like what you've shared there, just about depression and, you know, understanding, you know, it is again, I mean, I struggled when I was younger. Oh, come on, I can talk about it a little bit if you want.
Yeah, sure.
With alcohol, actually, and for a long time, I didn't drink every day, but, you know, I was drinking on weekends and things. I went through this real, you know, it was a bit of a problem for me. I'd go out every weekend and I'd be drinking a lot, and I was just miserable. I wasn't healthy, you know, and I'd read these labels about what it meant. You know, God, you know, I've got, you know, what is it, you know, and I look at the definitions, and it wouldn't necessarily fit a box. And in the end, I just thought, well, it's making me unhappy. It doesn't matter what label you give it. At the end of the day, something's going on. This is a symptom of something, you know, that I need to heal. And just similar to you, Marisol, I mean, that's why I went into meditation in my 20s. So I just had my first daughter, and for me, that was I think what happened, because my dad passed when I was younger. So when I was 8 years old, my dad was in a tragic car accident, and he was only 33 years old. So he passed, and I was really close to my dad. He's a really bright, beautiful, you know, clever man, and, you know, very adventurous. I just loved him so much. So when he died, I was heartbroken and devastated, and I carried that. I had some, you know, there was some stuff in childhood that was hard to deal with, and I carried that right throughout my childhood, right until my 20s, and that's why I was drinking. So I knew that was a mask because there was stuff there I didn't want to deal with, but it was just so easy just to go out and have fun than actually to delve deep into those really painful worlds, because I was scared, actually. I could feel the intensity of all those emotions, and I didn't want to take the lid off that pot because I was scared of what would come out. But I'd always been very, very spiritual. You know, I always had these experiences right from when I was young. Again, we can talk about those in a bit, but so when I got to my 20s, though, so I was just desperately unhappy, and I thought I was being guided to do something, and I was going out into nature, and I was doing photography, and I was having these like lovely moments in nature, which I've always had, and this is part of the new book that I've written. But I was in guided meditation again. I took that up, and it was like, all of a sudden you realize, oh, actually there's a part of me that's always peaceful, always whole, that's not affected by the world around me, and I can access that anytime I like. So what's going on? And it's again, it's that, and it begins just the more that you experience that light within, the more that you can access those states of consciousness, the more it helps to heal all those and bring to the surface with awareness all those wounds and patterns that you've been, and traumas and things that you've been carrying. It's just I do think it's part of for many of us, it's part of the journey. It's part of the ascension, and part of, you know, the evolution of you embodying your soul, basically, to learn what's truth, what's not truth, what's a pattern, what's been imprinted on you, you know, what's an external negative influence, and what is your truth from the inside. I could see quite clearly that the outer reflection of my life was not a reflection of who I was within, and that's what I was desperate to be, because it's almost like you're living a false life. Even though I had all these, you know, professionally I was very, you know, always been very good, you know, I had very good jobs. I was in law, you know, for many years, and people think that's a fantastic job, and it is, you know, to all the lawyers, like, I'm brilliant. But it wasn't necessarily it wasn't necessarily reflective of who I really was. Actually, when I had my daughter, that's kind of it, that broke my heart open up. Suddenly I felt more for somebody else than I did actually. It was that, you know, that love I'd never felt before for another person. And you know, I realized I just wanted to be the best mother, the best version of myself that I could possibly be for her. And then obviously as that went on, obviously became more empowering. I thought, you know, and do it for me as well, you know, and explore these gifts. So, but yeah, it's just, I think that, you know, it is definitely a massive part, isn't it? What we experience in our childhood, especially as a feminine. I think if you've had trauma as well, what tends to happen if we go, we're speaking about the divine feminine energy, is that you do tend to, and women who've had trauma identify with this. If you've had a lot of traumatic experiences in your childhood, there'll have been times when you've had to go into your masculine energy by default as a protective mode.
Yeah.
So if I'm just going to be very respectful about people who who've been through their own, doing through their own healing and stuff. But if you've been in any very difficult situations or physical situations, then your masculine is almost like your protective energy. So a lot of women, I think, and I definitely can identify with this at times, have kind of stepped into that masculine energy as almost like a survival instinct.
Yeah.
And then as what happens with that is sometimes this divine feminine energy gets suppressed. And so then part of me becoming a mother, and part of that for me personally was the unblossoming of the feminine energy again. That's kind of led me to where I am today. And motherhood's been a huge part of that love and that nurturing, that caring, and wanting to embody that, that energy as a parent, as a mother myself. But yeah, it's very interesting. I think, like I say, I can, at this time, when if you haven't already been through these things like we have, I look out now and I see a lot of people experiencing similar things now. And I think it's because, like I say, we're at this ascension cycle, at the end of this ascension cycle, which is a really, really high. The divine feminine energy is very potent at the moment. And it's just allowing for those healings and for that balance, those balancings to take place, that need to, if we're going to become if we're going to ascend into high states, because you can't just be in one energy or the other. It has to be a divine balance between the two. And you kind of know as well, I think, when you're more in your feminine energy, when you're more in your masculine, like I'm very adventurous, and I'll go running up, like Bear Grylls, up sort of, mountains and jumping up, and that, that's definitely the more masculine energy coming out. But then the feminine, is the it's like the creative aspect that comes about. It's a balance between the two. Do you find that?
Absolutely. It's always bringing it into balance, and I think it's really nice what you said when you discovered that there's a place of peace and stillness within you all the time. And I think that's the thing. There's nothing we have to get from the outside or acquire or bring onto us, but that it's already inside, that we have it. It might be buried, it might be pushed into a corner, but there's nothing we have to get. It's just something we can rediscover and open up to. But because I meet so many people that have issues with not feeling worthy, not feeling like they're enough. And they think that there's something missing to them. They think that it's not enough what they are, who they are. And they're looking for something to get to complete them, while it's already there. Like I said, it may be buried, but it's there. And so instead of looking on the outside where to get that from that you think is missing, it's this path of going inward and rediscovering that. And also, like you said, a lot of people are overwhelmed when they start going into stillness, meditation. It comes up. They're overwhelmed. But it's so worth it to bear that and to go through that and to come into those deeper levels. And you learn, like for me, it's amazing because I've learned to hold space for my emotions. I am able to feel all these emotions, but I'm not being dragged down by them into an endless spiral. So I have this in meditation open space to feel and allow everything to be there, but not from a judgmental place or thinking, oh, this has to go away now. So it changes the way you are in touch with your own emotions.
Yeah, it's overcoming that fear, isn't it? A fear of feeling. Sometimes, like I said, if you've had an intense experience and painful experience, then maybe in the past, our or your instinct would have been to move away from that, because that is instinct. If we've got danger, we move away. Actually, what the divine feminine energy is all about, like you just expressed beautifully there, is feeling into that and being able to be vulnerable, be okay with being a little bit vulnerable, but we can create. I think that's, again, it just reiterating what you've just said. People often don't realize that we can create that space for ourselves. Yes, I'm not saying there's no value in going to see another person and a therapist and talking it out, because that's can be wonderful. But actually, what meditation teaches you is that we already have this safe space within us, and it's actually when we come out of the mind and into the heart that we get to access and feel that. And that's the divine energy within us. That's our source light. That's the essence of our being. And sometimes in meditation you'll see that light, and it's the most beautiful, humbling. I've cried so many times in meditations, it's unreal. I just always cry, because for me it's just the most beautiful experience. But I think when you spend your whole life trying to be tough, or you've had to be tough, or like a bit more masculine, a bit more on the masculine out of necessity, just being able to relax into those softer states. And masculine men will resonate with this massively, because obviously that's a lot of them, how a lot of men are taught to be. So just being able to just safely know that you can go into that space and feel, and know that it's okay. You can cry and you can release, and it's not negative to cry. Actually, it's a healing process. It's evolutionary. You're clearing that beautiful container so you can embody more light. But it's so necessary, because until we access and experience all parts of ourselves, we're going to always feel like something's missing. I think, and that's part of, again, about the balancing of the energies, isn't it, within us? But again, it's having courage and devotion. One of the biggest realizations for me is that, without knowing it, devotion has been probably one of the biggest parts of self-mastery for me. Just sticking with it. Just trusting your instincts, going within repeatedly, when there's an issue, going back in and just trusting, because it's like I said, building, I've said this many times, it's like building a muscle. You
it is
train yourself to know that it's okay to be able to access those states, and to feel your emotions and to clear those, and you become quite proficient at it, because you realize you're not doing that alone. The more that you access those divine energies, the divine feminine energy, it supports you in doing that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's intense. It can be so intense.
But I mean, see, I was lucky. I've always been the crier in the family. Like,
oh, I was never a crier.
Oh, I was always. I cried for
while.
My other family members had a hard time with crying. My father never allowed himself to cry. So I think I was crying for the family.
Oh, that's sweet.
No, I was always the crier. But I'm glad I've always had that, because I was always able at least to release.
It is a release, isn't it?
It can be very healing.
I quite like a good cry every now and then. I think when it depends. Like when you become a mum, mums will resonate with this as well. When you become a mum, you cry at anything. So you see a child on a movie, oh God, because you can. And I think as an empath as well, that's a good thing to talk. When you're very empathic, and being an empath basically means that you can feel other people's energies. You can actually feel collective states of energy, depending on how attuned you are. So you do take a lot in, and sometimes you need to just have that bit of release, and just to let that go, and just know that it's okay. I actually find the more I resist to cry, the more rubbish I feel. If I just go and have a quick, and let it out, whatever it is, it clears quite quickly. It doesn't build that, that energy and emotion doesn't build up quite as much. But I was never, I see. When my dad passed, it was such a sad experience for him, because he was the youngest. My nan and granddad, beautiful souls, and my nana was very, I will talk about this a little bit in my book, she's always very well turned out, very, typical 1940s lady of the war. She was a busby girl, and she had the red lip and the scarf, and what I mean. So she's always like well turned out, and I just, when my dad passed, because he was the youngest child of three, and like I say, he was only 33, it was their baby, really. So my granddad had a stroke after that. And I just saw how it broke them. And I think because my mum had just, and she's been with him ever since, but she'd just gone into a new relationship, we'd moved home and things. So I just felt so uncomfortable with with all the emotions, and I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to hold them. I didn't know what to make of them. And so I kept it all in. And I saw my nana being upset. I thought, I have to be strong for her.
Yeah.
It's just something in me that's always been, I have to be strong, and I can't be. So I struggled to cry for quite a long time, and even to express my emotions quite a long time. So this divine feminine energy embodiment for me has been about being able to be in the softer states, and actually writing, again, the creatives helped, painting and writing through poetry. It's very cathartic, being able to express my emotions through that. Writing probably has been much easier for me than speaking. It's only really that being able to vocalize my emotions and be comfortable being vulnerable and crying and things has been a fairly recent thing in recent years, but it's so again so important. Definitely
That's an important issue, allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
Particularly now when there's so much, I think uncertainty brings, we're going through these planetary shifts and changes, and we all can, people have, I've spoken about this recently, you can feel that, everyone's got these intuitive senses, and we can really feel that there are big changes going on, and that can be quite unsettling for people, not the uncertainty of what comes next. So I think just being okay with change, and knowing that that's actually being okay to be out of your comfort zone a little bit is all right. Which I just feel like I was saying this to a really good friend the other day, because he's a masculine man, and he actually is very wise about vulnerability as well. He's kind of enlightened me a little bit about that, but again, just being able to be, like I say, we were talking about comfort zone. I said, I feel like I've lived my whole life out of my comfort zone, like being on this planet. Because I've just never felt like I really fit in anywhere,
Same, me too.
and I've despite being very feminine, I've always, like I say, been quite adventurous and had that bit of mass. I've never quite fit the typical mold. So it's almost like I've had this lifelong training for uncertainty and discomfort. Do you feel the same, Marisol?
Same. I never fit into any systems or anything. I was always the weird one. Going against the stream.
And I think what's nice when you start talking to people, because we can be quite insular, is that you realise, there's lots of us.
Absolutely.
We're all the same, actually, when you, especially Starseeds, and and very sensitive or spiritual. But we probably all felt that, at some point, and probably the population at large. But that, again, this is why it's so important to have these conversations, because I don't know about you, but I was craving this. My soul was craving this depth of conversation and being able to be open and expressive in this way.
No, it's so important, and it's so inspiring, like you said, to realize there are others that think the same way and are on this journey, because other people, and this is completely free of judgment, but there's so many people who think we're crazy. And that's fine, but that's also part of
doing it anyway.
Sorry?
Doing it anyway.
And that's part of being who you are, and not being afraid to show who you are, and the right people will resonate with you, and the others who don't, that's totally fine. So
I found that as well. If you, particularly in recent, I think as you go sort of become more aware of your ascension journey, and you really start stepping on your path, that does happen a lot. It's kind of falling away that it's the way that I'm guided about that is that it's it's all frequency, it's energy. So what energetically matches your frequency will stay or will come in, whereas some things, and no judgment or anything, and no no love lost or anything. If you've got an old aunt or something, it just doesn't get you anymore. But you just will not gel. It'll be like almost like a energetic wall sort of between you if that person isn't able to maybe open up. I think one of the, I suppose, the other wonderful things about where we are at the moment, Marisol, is that, I know we've talked about this recently, is that people who are just starting that journey and they're starting to open up, and it's beautiful because you can see there, it's like they're just starting to like a flower, like starting to blossom, and they're starting to ask about more things. So it's just so lovely after all this time to see, you know, friends who you maybe never thought would be asking, you know, go sort of on a very spiritual, but kind of looking at meditation and, you know, being more expressive and being able to be in touch with their emotions and holding that space for them a little bit too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just being within your own space and allowing everyone else to be in their space, on their path, wherever they are, you know, not judge anybody, and hold space for those who are opening up and are also reaching out to you. And I think that's important.
So I think that's really important, like you said, because the divine feminine is not a cookie cutter goddess. Even though there are aspects of that we embody that is. This is my experience anyway. Tell me, you know, if you know your experience is similar. But she can be all sorts of, you know, she's all types of feminine. You know, she's earthy. You know, I experience her very strongly in the Mother Earth energy. Because that's something that I'm writing about at the minute, and it's just been an incredible journey. That's been incredible and a big part of my journey. But she's also the mother, so she's the nurturing, the mother, the parent. You know, she's the, you know, she's that which, you know, she's that which creates life, that which, you know, life comes forth from. But then again, she's also the playful feminine. She's the creative. She wants, you know, she goes with the flow. She's kind of you know, there's that. So there's different, and then there's other things where she's quite, you know, strong, and, you know, the feminine energy can be quite strong, and, you know, standing, you know, for what she believes in, and her values and her truth, and you know, up against very strong masculine, that can be quite challenging sometimes. So for me, there's no, I've discovered it's very multifaceted. The feminine is very multifaceted. There's no one, and I think that's important for anybody who thinks, oh, I'm not very feminine. But maybe you are. You just you just haven't realized, you know, that's actually being expressed in a particular way. How do you experience is there any sort of, how do you experience the divine feminine energy? I know we've talked about flow and things. Is for yourself, I'm thinking.
It is really this thing, flow versus force. So because I am an ambitious person and I have dreams and goals and visions, and so I tend to rush a little bit. And so for me, it's important to like calm down again and center myself, trust, and then, like I said before, come into action through this inspiration. And what I find is very helpful when I not get lost, but when I'm busy with my thoughts and how to do things, what really helps me is to come back to the question, how can I serve?
Yeah.
So that through what I do, I can serve our earth, humanity, anyone I can help. And so to bring my vision forth, but in the energy of service, because that makes you humble again. Otherwise, you might get stuck in your ego, like, why haven't I achieved this? Why has she or he done this? And I'm not here yet. And all these questions that sometimes pop into the ego mind, to step away from that and to say, it's not about that. It's about my higher purpose and serving during this ascension, and living my soul's mission. And of course, enjoying that and being able to express myself. And being of service doesn't mean to forget all your boundaries and give yourself up. I don't mean it in that way. But the energy of being of service is a different one. And when you bring that into what you do, it makes you humble. And I think that's very important. And that's, so, and that brings the flow then. And I feel when I do that, I'm much more creative. Things flow much easier. So,
yeah.
I
just was getting there while you were, I was getting some downloads there. So part of that I've experienced is part of the service is actually being in service to your own divine energies. So you know, as we learn to honor those the divine feminine energy within us, as we honor the divine masculine, that light within us, that it's a force in itself that works through us.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's nothing to do with, you know, religion or anything like this. Literally, this is a direct line, your direct line to a light, to the light that's the essence of your soul's being. And so really, even if you're, you know, I've written about this on my website recently, even if you're, you know, you can sell ice creams, you can be a mum at home with a child, and just, if you, but that is all of being of service if you're in alignment with your highest self and your highest truth and your highest life, because you're bringing that energy forth to the planet regardless, you know. But if your calling is to be, you know, incredible, you know, gifted, you know, singer that has light language in it or something like that, you know, or, you know, and so you literally activate other people, then brilliant, you know. That's another level. But again, it's what I was hearing you say is it does all come from within. It's having that alignment within yourself, getting centered in what you know you feel you're here to do, you're here to be, and just having the confidence to go out and express that, really. And share it with others, because again, I don't know whether you resonate with this myself. I can be a little bit reclusive in it, not totally, because I'm quite social, but I'm quite happy in my own space. Sometimes, you know, when you can create and you have certain talents and skills and things, you can just be in your own world, you know. And sometimes I just need that little bit of a push to share them. Yeah, to be, like I said, to be of service, to share them, and what the wonderful thing is that if you're creating from, you know, a heart space, that energy flows into your work regardless, and it touches other people, and that's it's lovely to have that feedback, isn't it? You know,
and we're going into a unity consciousness again. So bringing like-minded people together and living in a different way, coming back to something very pure and authentic. So and I've my vision is, when we can move around freely again, to create beautiful retreats with people, with music and meditation, and come together and, like you said, be seen, and where you can express yourself and heal emotions. And I was actually just talking to a friend, he's a singer, and we decided to create a retreat together. And I have a wonderful friend who's a pianist. She plays amazingly. So actually just yesterday we decided to create, when it's possible, a retreat together for people to meditate and through intuitive sound healing. And so we'll see where that goes.
Can't wait. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
In person or online? Is it going to be like an in-person?
In person, because I want, it's just, I mean, I do a lot online right now, but I don't want to miss being in a room with people, singing with people in one room. And you can do so much online, and the energy is always there. And it's wonderful that we have this opportunity to connect worldwide. But I do want to have both, and I do want to always experience this with people in one room. So we would be doing that in person. Yes.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I definitely feel called to do that. I definitely feel that that's maybe on the cards at some point to explore that.
Yeah.
And you know, but I'll be there if I can be.
Well, I'll come to the UK and we'll create a Divine Feminine retreat.
Yeah. I just think I talk to women all the time. I talk to everybody. You know, so when you go out walking and everything, you do tend to just talk to people, and I love that. You know, I just love chatting to people, and you meet some really wonderful, interesting people. But I do talk to women a lot, and it saddens me, but also inspires me to help when you hear of other women who just don't believe in their own worth, or you know, we all experience that. You know, it can creep in at any time, especially if you're doing new things. But it gets easier and easier as you go along, I would say. But it just surprised me just how many people, men and women actually, who have lost that wisdom of how to really go within to find their empowerment and then their own wisdom. Because I think that above anything else, you can go and do as many retreats and things as as you can. But again, this is what you're really doing, is bringing them back to themselves.
Yeah, and it's what you do with that in your everyday life then. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's just wonderful. I think what's really important, like say about going to meeting people, is sometimes you need that reminder that, that you actually have all the tools and gifts within you, and people, like, so you can hold, like I said, retreat will hold that space, or this holds that space for you to be able to step into until you've got that nailed.
Yeah.
until you know beyond doubt. And I think what's wonderful is the minute that you start going within and you start experiencing that beautiful divine feminine energy for yourself, it becomes self-confirming. You'll start to see the synchronicities. Things will just line up like little, line up for you. People will come into your life, and it's because you're working with those divine energies, like we say, and learn to balance those energies within yourself. And it's almost like life suddenly becomes this magical place where you can explore different things, and you can, like I say, you explore your own talents and gifts and abilities, and connect with other people, and things come from that. So it's so when do you think you might be doing the webinar, these retreats
in person? Well, I don't know, that depends on when we can travel around freely. When this madness
it's something to look forward to.
So we'll have to see. I hope next year. That would be cool.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can make that happen. But I do online events, so sound healing journeys and transmissions, and I do want to offer a whim. Sorry.
I'll just say that I've experienced your sound, your healing, your meditations, everything, and they're amazing. The one that I'll share, actually, because I don't mind sharing. The first time I listened to which one was it? It might have been the 5-2. It might have been that one. Anyway, so I had my earphones on and everything. I just listened to the whole thing all the way through, and I literally, as I do meditation, I literally opened up and had some sort of visions while I was, and it's very tranquil, very transcendent. So you can definitely feel it. Yeah,
thank you so much.
You're welcome. It works.
I'm glad. Yeah, and I would like to offer women's circle. So if we have a few that are interested, I'll
definitely join that. And
and that's the cool thing about being online. You can connect with people all over the world and create a sacred space. So I think that's a balance again, use the online thing and also have the personal contacts and where you're actually in a room with people. I think both is important, and it's bringing that into balance as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes you just want to hug, or you want to be to be around someone physically. I mean, like I said, we've talked about this many times doing this talk, but the journey is always going to have its challenges, it doesn't matter what level of consciousness you ascend into. I mean, you can get right up there into the divine, but there's going to be things that come up. So just having somebody that you can walk and talk with, or just being, that's like you say, if it's an event, just being around that energy is very uplifting and inspiring.
Absolutely.
Keeps you motivated. For sure. So I was just saying, is there anything else we can add about the divine feminine?
I think we've gone into so many things. I think that's a lot of food for thought. So maybe before we come to a close, would you like to say a few words about your new book, maybe?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I've just finished writing Wild Riverbanks, and I'm so excited about this book. It started off as being, I thought I'd write essays, basically nature-based essays, and share these with people who've been estranged from nature. As we know, we've had a very weird and wonderful couple of years, and some people weren't getting out into nature. And I just thought, this is, it's one of my passions. I've always walked and hiked, so I'll write these essays. But what happened when I was writing it was that it sort of blossomed into this journey. So it's a collection of essays, and more in a memoir style, and it's all my experiences of nature, of bonding with the earth, and my meditations and spiritual, kind of a very kind of poetic journey, right from when I was very young, with kind of humor stories, right until the present day. So we've got sort of you know, how I went to the river when I was younger, for example, and it was a very healing thing for me after my father passed, to climbing mountains in the Lake District.
Yeah.
And watching squirrel fights and you know, being chased by frisky bullocks. So it's just really I've just loved writing it so much, and it'll be, hopefully it's going to be out in October.
Yeah.
But it'll be on my website, which is atalinawright.com, and we'll put it somewhere hopefully.
Yes, well, I'll put the links under the video. So yeah.
Yeah, so you can find all my books and all my work on there, and any sort of divine alchemy writings that I've started to share as well, because I've kind of just been pushed a little bit to express and to share a little bit more about these energies and these experiences to help, you know, to inspire others. So but it's all on the website.
And you are such an inspiring woman. I mean, you, like, every time we talk, I'm just infused with positive, radiant energy and so inspired. So thank you for that.
I just love this. It's been brilliant. So thank you so much for inviting me. And I wish
thank you so much.
Blossoming into all these amazing avenues. And I'm just so thrilled to be, you know, a friend on your journey and to be a little bit of part of that. And, you know, and just to encourage you as well, because I'm excited to see and experience your, you know, new things that you're doing, your new talents.
The journey. Yeah, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So thank you, listeners, for being here today. I hope we've inspired you a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Much love.